you see these kids that, assemble and they turn something on the paper into an absolute entertaining show. And it's the process is absolutely what keeps me doing it. Is you start with blank stage and a blank slate. You cast people, you poke them into where you think you should put them, and you make a show out of it.
Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice is the TMP-Marian High School spring play to be presented this weekend. I'm Becky Kaiser, Hays Post Eagle Radio news reporter, talking with drama director Travis Griselle on this episode of the Hays Post podcast.
We're gearing up for Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice.
Yes.
Opens this
I've heard
week.
of it.
Yeah, good. And it's one of those, it's not one that's traditionally taught a lot in schools. It's not like your Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, maybe even Midsummer Night's Dream, but it's
or that Scottish play,
we don't speak of.
That's why I said the Scottish play.
Yeah, he knows. It's classified as a comedy, but there's some very dramatic things in it as well. So there's a little bit there for everyone. There's a love story, and it's my favorite Shakespeare play, and I'm probably one of the few people in Hays that like Shakespeare, but got a good group, and they're going to do a great job with our version of The Merchant of Venice this weekend.
Well, let's talk about how you get a group of high school students involved. This is probably, I'm guessing, maybe their first exposure to Shakespeare.
We actually did Midsummer Night's Dream. We did a Shakespeare last year, too.
Oh, okay.
So we're back-to-back, which has probably never happened at our school, but we got a great group for it, and they really do interpret it and act it out well, and we're going a different direction. It's a little heavier than Midsummer Night's Dream, and there's a lot of timely things in it. It deals with some anti-Semitism and some stereotypes and some disparity within society and economics. It's a great teaching show. Starts a lot of good conversations that we get to know the show better and learn a little bit about history too.
Now, anytime I've tried to imbibe in a little bit of Shakespeare, and I've heard people say this, that it's difficult to understand because we're talking Old English verbiage and language, which isn't quite the way we speak today. Is that tough to teach? Well,
I think Shakespeare's definitely meant to be watched. If you sit down and read it, it's probably going to be pretty dry. It's tough for me sometimes, but I always tell the students it's like opera. Even if you don't know the language, if the acting is emphatic enough and they're expressive and the emotion is there, even though there's a language barrier, you'll get what's going on. You'll get the plot line. It'll translate out. And if you have high energy and you're very expressive, it'll be better for you, and it'll definitely be better for the audience. So people that attend our show, which should be everyone listening,
absolutely,
they'll have no problem following the language at all. It's timeless, and it always, always translate well when you have good performers.
That is interesting that some of these themes, Travis, you're saying have been in perpetuity, I guess, with mankind.
Yeah. It's why Shakespeare's still so relevant and impactful, because he wrote about the human condition and the things that we all go through and feel. And a lot of the things we were struggling with back then as a society, we're still struggling with today. So it's a great history lesson of looking back and knowing what to look for and saying, gosh, one of these days, maybe we'll get it right.
Let's hope. And speaking of history, give us a little history lesson. Remind us what time period, what years are we talking about here?
As written, he wrote it in the late 1500s, but we're taking it to the turn of the century, the Edwardian period. We're going to spiff up the guys in their ascots and three-piece suits, and the girls a little more modern dress. Not modern for the students, but compared to that way, we're not. The first time we did it years ago, we were in the Renaissance garb of the time. So we're modernizing it a little bit, trimming down the costumes, but like we just were talking about, thematically, it still works very well at that time period.
I think that also speaks for Shakespeare as well, too. Like, how many adaptations do you, because didn't the community theater do like a adaptation like set in the 80s?
Yeah, Midsummer Night's Dream in the 80s.
Yeah.
It was awesome, man.
Yeah.
Tubular. Yeah. So, it settles in. You can put him anywhere and he'll be fine. The story will be fine.
So let's talk about costuming a little bit. You said you got away from the Renaissance period, which I'm sure involves lots of material for the costumes. But the Edwardian period, what kinds of looks are we talking about? You talked about the men with their ascots.
Yeah, a lot of three-piece suits, ascots, mustaches, a lot of facial hair. And, we are in Venice. We're in Italy, and they're usually at the forefront of the fashion, and things are very tailored. But it's a high school show, so you're going to get what you're going to get. But on the girls, there's very few female characters. We have a lot of girls that are being good sports and portraying male characters. But the girls, most of those are in the fictional place of Belmont. So it's very ornate, very elaborate dresses and hair and gaudy jewelry and whatnot to paint that kind of mythical place and create the contrast between Venice and the Venetian ghettos where the Jews were relegated to, and then this kind of almost fairy tale like Belmont. So there's a lot of good contrast and a little bit of everything in that show.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
Now, do you teach this in your classes, in your junior English class?
I always teach it in my Shakespeare unit and drama class. And we watch a really good performance that was captured at Shakespeare's Globe Theater. And a lot of the students, after seeing that, when they heard about the Merchant of Venice, they weren't groaning as much about Shakespeare. Like, oh, we're going to do that one we watched in drama class. Oh my gosh! So they had kind of dipped their toe into it, a lot of them, and they're doing a really good job with it. They really are.
Let's talk about those students. This is outside of their regular classes and everything else they have going on. So this is a real commitment.
It is. You're taking kids that get there some at 7 a.m. and some of them are taking some college courses, some concurrent credits, the upperclassmen. And then if they have sports or activities after school, and then they kind of limp into rehearsal, and then we make them read or act Shakespeare for another 2 hours, and they get home at 10 o'clock or so, and do whatever homework, get some food in them, sleep about 5 minutes, and then go do it again the next day. So the students say they really are. They're working hard, and the spring break hit at a really good time to kind of get us refreshed and come back and just knock it out show week.
Did you get started before spring break?
Oh yeah. We started. I think the second week of February, and with basketball and cheerleading and whatnot, on any given night, you might have a third to a half of them there. So it's a very fragmented group, but they all have pulled it together, and we had a couple of mild rehearsals after kind of late into spring break, and kept the lines fresh, and I expect them to knock it out this week.
What about, now see, I'm showing my ignorance, but I'm using that word in a good way. This is not a musical, am I correct?
No, it's just, it's what they call a straight play, straight without music. It's just dialogue, and it will be presented without intermission, just like, a lot of the older shows were that, and I've trimmed it down too. It's probably about an hour and a half show.
Oh, that sounds a perfect length. What time can we see it, Travis?
7 o'clock on Friday and Saturday, and then our 2 o'clock matinee on Sunday.
Always good to have a matinee in there. That works out well for a lot of people. And what about tickets and information there? Tickets
are on sale. I think this morning they're hitting the TMP website. $8 for if you take a seat. You're $8, child through seniors. And then you can also get them at the door. We'll have them out the lobby on your way into the theater, where you can grab tickets there too.
Why do you think students get involved in theater? Or do you know, you've been doing this a while, Travis, have you seen them go on to perform in college and beyond?
Absolutely. We've had quite a few that go on and do theater in some capacity. And one of the first things kids do is act. They act all the time. They assume
I guess little kids do, don't they? Sure.
Did you break the lamp? No, I think my sister did. I mean, we all do. We all have our roles to play, and it's a great escapism for these kids to just sometimes they can cry, they can laugh, they can scream, things they can't do in the confines of a school day, and it's very cathartic. It can be a really good release, and it is an amazing thing to see some of these kids just really find their niche and find their tribe, family, or whatever you want to call it within the stage there.
Well, and kids learn through play as well, too.
Absolutely.
Play and pretend and whatnot. And it still applies even into your teens and adult years as well, too. Like what we were discussing with how unapproachable Shakespeare is, but then getting into it.
We have the first read through, and it's dry, it's boring. Once you get up and start moving with the text and gesturing and looking at people and whatnot, then it gets, this is kind of fun. You can just really go there. Mm-hmm. And it's like teaching literature. It forces you to wear someone else's shoes and empathize with their situation and what they're up against. And it's theater's a wonderful experience.
Do you find most kids reluctant to get involved in theater? Do you have to do a lot of recruiting, or are there some out there that just, wow, I can't wait to do this?
Yeah, a lot of the girls are chomping at the bit. The guys are a tough sell, but once we get them, we usually keep them. So if I can get them involved and, the ratios work well as well, there's so many lead characters that are guys, and but once we get them, we tend to keep them. But going into high school, freshman year it's a important time. You got to kind of choose your niche or niches, and be real about your time commitment that you can fit everything in that you commit to as well.
There's some lessons there as well.
Absolutely. Time management.
And what do you get out of doing this, Travis? What do you like doing about directing?
I love there's usually a moment or two that you take a script, and sometimes with musicals, it's a Broadway script that, the best in the world are meant to do. And we do it at Little TMP. And yeah, it's a little bit different, the version we license. But you see these kids that, assemble, and they turn something on the paper into an absolute entertaining show. And it's the process is absolutely what keeps me doing it. Is you start with a blank stage and a blank slate. You cast people, you poke them into where you think you should put them, and you make a show out of it. And then, Sunday evening we'll have a cast party and we'll start striking set, and it'll all be over. But on to the next one.
And how do you choose your plays?
Gosh, it's the one great thing about academic theater, school theater, is you kind of know your talent pool, especially in a small school. So you kind of know who's coming up or who's going to be in the next show. So you can look at their strengths and what they bring to the table, and you try to match that up. You get to know them well enough and get to know enough shows that you try to match up your group. And you also look back your production history, try to do a variety, especially over a 4-year time span, that you get exposed to, Shakespeare and a murder mystery and a drama and maybe a classical theater and the musicals, different styles as well. So there's a lot to factor in, and show selection it's fun, but it's a tall order sometimes.
And you have to think about what your audience might want to come see as well.
Oh yeah. You want some appeal there. Shakespeare is probably not the most enticing thing to a lot of people, but you want it has to be school appropriate. We're high school, and we have another layer there we're a Catholic school. So that's our identity is, we're Catholic students up there performing, and we want to make sure that siblings and older grandpa and grandma can come and feel comfortable and all that stuff too. So there are limitations to what you can choose with a high school group, but we've done, I feel like, a good job of matching up to our kids and what they want to do, are capable of, and what the audience might want to enjoy.
And Merchant of Venice, now that I've learned a little bit more about Shakespeare finally, sounds like if you're like me and you really don't know that much about Shakespeare, this would be a good introduction, a great way to get acquainted a little bit.
Best introduction you could ever have to Shakespeare is to attend a live performance. And usually if it's done halfway decent and all, you'll walk out thinking, I don't hate Shakespeare all that, or this wasn't that bad. And there's some great film adaptations as well. There's a lot of plot lines and whatnot that are directly borrowed from Shakespeare. So he's everywhere in our language. And there's a cultural literacy. I harp on my juniors a lot. There's cultural literacy, and there's so many things that we can be more culturally aware of when we know the classics and Shakespeare and literature and all that fun
You'd
stuff.
be surprised, I think, until you start putting it all together.
Yep. There's phrases and sayings in this, the pound of flesh or the quality of mercy. Those are both from the Merchant of Venice that are still in everyday language. So.
Absolutely.